Hey, it's 8 o'clock. This is the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. I'm your host and your guide for the next 2 hours. We're going to spend this time together. We're going to be looking at life through a biblical lens and solving all the world's problems in, I don't know, 2 hours or less. It's what we do. We do this every Sunday night, whether you like it or not. We have a lot of things that are going on this week. There's all sorts of spiritual stuff that's out there, and there's some financial stuff, and there's some political stuff. There's things going on around the world, primarily in Israel, and we're going to try to look at all of those. I hope that you find time during the week to go to the Bible Forum website. You can get there anytime the way you have right now, thebibleforum.net. And in the bottom right hand corner, you will see that there is a show running. It's segments from last week. And so throughout the week, day or night, 24 hours a day, you can sit and watch what we talked about last week. See if we talked about you. If you click the word at the bottom that says Ustream, that will automatically take you to the Bible Forum page on the Ustream system, and there you will find probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 3, 4 months, 6 months. I don't know where they are right now with it, but there's a bunch of shows going all the way back. Used to be that we had stuff going back over a year, but since we're not able to pay anymore for Ustream, that's why you got the commercials. That's why when you tune in, you get a choice. You can say this kind of commercials or those kinds. And then every 10 or 12 minutes, whether you like it or not, they play a commercial. I hear people, they write to me, they talk to me, and they don't like it, and I don't like it. You can spend $3.99 a month. They tell you how to do that on the website, and you can save yourself the commercials if you're willing to pay that kind of money. Of course, if there were 6 of you who would be willing to commit to $30 a month to the Bible Forum, not only would nobody have to watch these commercials, but you'd get a shirt. You'd get one of these shirts. I'd send it to you. And a book. I've redone my book, a new title, new cover, some changes inside. I'd send that to you absolutely free. We do need your help, as you are probably noticing. Things are starting to go away. We are no longer posting our stuff on sermonaudio.com. That website continues to be up for a while. They're hoping that we'll come back, but that costs about $100 and some dollars a month to keep, and just can't afford that. The Ustream was $150 on average. It could be higher. They charge based on the number of people who are watching at any given time, and of course they do that over a month. We do this 4 or 5 times a month. It adds up a little bit, and so we're praying about it. We're asking God, and we're telling you, this is where we are. We also have the Bible Institute of Charleston. I didn't check this evening when I got home from church. I was running a little later and had a bunch of other things to do, and discovered at the last minute that I had a lot of light on my forehead. Spent time fixing the light and didn't go and check it out. But if you go to, I think it's BibleInstituteofCharleston.org, you may actually see something. I was talking to the webmaster earlier this evening. We were looking at the YouTubes. There's the promo that's been running on Sermon Audio. We uploaded that now to the Bible Institute website. That should be, I don't know how he set that up. We talked about clicking the picture, the banner up top, and getting it. We also talked about putting a video screen in the right-hand side like we do on the Bible Forum, so that it would just run whenever you wanted. It's like that. We've got a couple of lessons done last week. Plan to do a couple of more this week. My goal is to get the entire first course done. That's the doctrine of the Bible, bibliology, how we got the Bible, what it's all about, how it works, and all that kind of stuff. Probably about 5, maybe 6 45-minute lessons thereabouts. And then go and do the next one, the doctrine of God, theology proper, and have that finished by the end of the year, by the time we get to Christmas, so that beginning January 1st, we can launch the Bible Institute and you can begin to work through these courses. As you know, they're going to cost money. I'm free in this world. It's $125 per course, plus a $25 registration. You get these downloaded to you, emailed to you every week for however many weeks there are. There'll probably be at least 5, maybe as much as 8 weeks, but the price will be the same no matter how long it is. And you get to watch these at your leisure. We encourage you to buy a copy of Thiessen's Systematic Theology. There's reading you need to do in there. You need to write a 1,000-word essay. Yeah, 1,000-word essay. And take a test. And I tell you in the promo, a 1,000-word essay is not that big a deal. I write blogs every week. I write as many as 4 or 5 blogs and all kinds of other things. And each one of those blogs are at least 750 to 1,000 words. Once you get going, it's all not that bad. Not that bad at all. This week on the Bible Forum, hopefully you got an email. I hope that you did. If you didn't, it's because you won't give me your email address. If you give me your email address, I'll send you this every week. We're going to talk about your standard of godliness. And the subtitle is Don't Ask the Average Christian What This Is About. Christians don't know a whole lot about godliness anymore. I have chosen, it's a blog, you can go to the website and see it. I think it might be on the Godliness website, godliness.net. But I've chosen the television program, Dancing with the Stars, because we've had a couple now of folks who have credible testimonies of salvation who have appeared on that show. One, I think, is finishing up his appearance. And I want to use that as an illustration. I did use it as an illustration. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. Godliness has gone away, and it's one of the reasons I started the website, godliness.net, to highlight this idea. Godliness seems somehow to be the purview of only the real spiritual people, only the pastors, the people who are really, really spiritual. No, everybody has this responsibility. Godliness with contentment is great gain. I learned that tonight in church. Our pastor is working through a lesson on how, I don't know if it's how we got our Bible, but the differences between the various Bible versions, and used 1 Timothy 6:6 as an illustration, how everybody is translating that verse, and it gets a little bit weird. But the idea here is there's a reason why verses like that are being translated different. It's not so that it makes it more understandable. It's not so that it makes it easier for you to read. They're changing it. And we're going to talk about this idea of godliness before we get too far down the road. I also want to talk to you about education. Are you educating your child? Do you have grandchildren? Are you going to get married? Are you going to have children? What are you going to do with them? Right now in America, public education is gone. We haven't had any public education probably for over 50 years. Public education is when the local community, the public, has a say, and that only happens on the lowest level, on the community level. The public has an input and say in how this thing works, what their children are going to be taught, how they're going to be taught, who's going to do the teaching, what the curriculum will be. We moved that out of the local community a long time ago. It moved to a county level, then it moved to a state level, and recently, in the last 10 or 20 years, it's been a federal government level. And each time we've moved it away from the people, it has gotten worse. And right now, apparently, in our public education system, we're not even educating half the students. Only 40, I think 43% of the children who take the SATs, and of course not all children take the SATs. Why do you suppose not all children take the SAT exams? Oh, I know why. Because they don't do well enough in school to even think about going to college, and therefore they don't get involved in the college entrance exams. But the ones who do, the ones who are taking this test, only about 43% score high enough, according to the people who are making the test. Only 43% of those who score high enough can hope to have a college education with at least a B grade finishing up. The rest, not so sure they're going to be able to do it. And getting an A and a B is really what college is about. You know, the old question is, what do you call your doctor? What do you call the doctor who gets a C average in medical school? Well, you call him doctor. Do you want to go to somebody like that, or would you like to go to somebody that got an A? And of course, when we get to the college level, we've watered that all down. If you're on the way or in the process or thinking about getting a bachelor's degree in art, a BA in something, unless you're going to be teaching, you're just wasting your money. There isn't a whole lot you can do with a BA. All the BA says is, I put my time in. I'm able to be taught, and I have the discipline to spend 4 years in school doing it. It isn't worth the money you pay for it. And the BS, again, unless it's in something that's really significant, you're not getting an education. In this country, you have to get it, and I'm being generous here, you have to get at least 2 years of college before you get the high school education that used to be available in the 1960s to anybody that wanted it free. And so when the Bernie Sanders and others say, we ought to give kids 4 years free college, I'm in. I agree 100%. I think we ought to give it to them free, because we're not doing it in high school. We're not doing it in grammar school. We're not teaching these children anything worthwhile. And the result is these kids are moving out into the world and they can't read and write on anything over a 5th or 6th grade level. It's awful. We're going to talk about what that's all about and why we're in this mess, and talk about some of the issues we can do to fix it. We're also going to talk about global finances. Are you ready for the financial meltdown? I'm 72 years old. I've been hearing about this as long as I've been old enough to pay attention. I heard about this when I was a teenager in my own house. Our money is not based on anything objective. It's just based on the good faith of the government. We got off the gold standard. We moved away a long time ago, but in 1972, was it, or 3, something like that, Nixon just finally pulled the plug, got us off, and said we're not going to have gold back up our dollars. And that wasn't because this would be a better system. This is because people couldn't do what they wanted to do. They could, money was only so much money, and it could only go so far, and they wanted to do more. And you buy boats with this stuff. You do know that, right? So they took the money off the gold standard. Today, the dollar you have in your hand is worth about 8 cents. And that's based on about a 1940, $50. It's probably worth less than that in some cases. Well, they're telling us that there's not too many dollars in circulation. And the American dollar is the universal currency. It's the global currency. Everybody trades in dollars. You look on the internet and find out what the value of a dollar, or what a value of a euro is. It'll be pegged against the dollar. That's how we keep score. There's only about 1.4 5 trillion of these little paper things running around called dollars. That's all that's in circulation. And apparently we trade these every day. Like $1 trillion changes hands like every day. There aren't enough dollars to go around to cover all that is being supported by the dollar. And we're talking, I think, I haven't got the notes in front of me, I think 5, 6 times, what we need or more. And so there are economists now telling us that it's not going to be long before you go down to the ATM and you won't be able to get any money out. And you'll get upset and you'll go into the bank, only you won't be allowed to get in the bank either. They'll have the doors locked. It'll be 1932 all over again. I got an email this week from a gal who lost her husband recently, and she says, this doesn't make me feel better. This, here I am, a widow, I'm living alone, this scares me to death. Well, it should. It really should. Because when this happens, you're not going to be able to buy anything. You're going to say, well, I got dollars put away. Nobody wants them. Nobody will want your dollar. Maybe the first day or so they might. But after that, they're not really going to want them because they're not going to be worth anything. And you're going to be like Zimbabwe or someplace where you're going to have to get a wheelbarrow down to the store and hand them $85,000 to buy a loaf of bread. That's what it's going to come to. I'm exaggerating, but that's it. And they'll restructure. They'll take a week, 2 weeks, whatever it takes, and they'll rotate around and they'll come up with a new value system and they'll get a new thing. But the $1,000 that you have in the bank, it's going to be worth about $100, maybe. What are you going to do about that? How can you fix it? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why and some of the things that you need to think about. We also have the largest behavioral conditioning experiment in the world that has begun in China. They're communists, you know that, right? And they've began this program, and it's behavioral modification on a huge scale. Yes, Chinese don't have the liberties that you have. They're limited in a lot of ways, but they do have other things. They have sort of stuff they can do. But they're going to set up a system, if they haven't done it already, you're free to do that, but if you do that, then we're going to tell all your friends and neighbors that you're doing that. And that's against the welfare of the nation. And then you're going to be outed, ostracized by your neighbors. You want to do that? That's fine, but you're going to lose your job. You're not going to have this. You're not going to have that. They are going to clamp down in this behavioral modification way to get their population under control so that they're good communist Chinese. And then everybody will be the same. Except the guys in the party, the high party leaders, the leaders of there's going to be there's always rich people. In China today, I think the richest person in the world is Chinese at this point. I read that months ago now. I may have that wrong. But if China does it, look over your shoulder. It's not going to be long. We're doing it in this country now. We're not doing it necessarily with the government limiting us in one way or another like China is talking about. But think about what happens when somebody wants you to bake them a cake and they want you to do it decorate it in such a way to highlight the homosexual union thing, and you say, oh, I really can't do that. What happens to that baker? They're pretty much hounded out of business. It's the same thing. And you're seeing that everywhere. People say what they believe, and they've got a price that they need to pay. There's also a new movie that's come out. I don't know if I think this is the weekend. Maybe it's called Woodlawn. Have you seen it? In this particular movie, uh, it's a story I think of a sports team, high school, college, something. I think it's high school. And in this story, the coach involved with these kids, there's a Christian theme to it, and apparently these kids either get saved or they're praying about something and it works. Or I don't know the whole storyline. I will when I get to that piece of paper and the blog that I wrote. But they're talking about it now as when people go to see this movie, they were able to, have these showings and whatever. When people see this movie, there is something just absolutely spectacular that takes place in the lives and hearts of the young people who are watching this. And these people are just flabbergasted. We're going to talk about what that is, and we're also going to talk about why that is, and we'll talk a little bit more perhaps about what it really means as we get going. So I hope you are strapped in. You're ready to get going. I just had the screen on my monitor go black. I had someone tell me this week that happens to their computer about 9:30 every Sunday night. The screen just goes black. Can't see me anymore. Can hear everything, just can't see it. That happens to me as well. And I reach over and I tap the space bar on my thing, and it comes back. What's going on? It's going to sleep. It is a process whereby the computer is saving electricity. It's saying, well, you're not using it. There's no keystrokes. Nothing's happening. And so it just goes dark. It's saving you. Now, why mine is doing it, I do not know, because I set this thing every time I come in. I have a Mac, and I set the energy saver so that the computer sleeps never. And so that the display sleeps never. And yet it did it twice already tonight. Usually it takes till about 9 o'clock, 9:30 before that happens. So if it happens, just touch your space bar and I will come back. And why? We'll just have to get a computer guru in here to show us how that works. Who knew? Get something to drink. I've got to type something in here. We're going to shut the recording off so that we can save this little introductory portion that gets posted on the website. You do know that, right? That'll be posted tonight before I go to bed. And then you'll be able to watch the whole show, all this introduction and everything else, in order. There's 4 or 5 segments. And from there, you can watch more. You can go to our YouTube channel and see it there. And if God is gracious and motivates his people to put some shekels in the barrel, we'll get our sermon audio page back, and you'll be able to go there. That's the one I kind of hate. We were getting 1,000 hits off of that thing, and these are people that probably have never seen the show before, so potential audience, but I'm not driving the bus. So take a deep breath, get something to drink. We'll be right back.